Good evening all. So my first question to our Vice Senior Student candidates tonight is the Vice Senior Student just a secretary?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming this evening. I'd like to just start by thanking everyone that I canvassed this week. I know it can be quite annoying having random second years knocking on the door and wanting to talk to you, but it is actually so helpful to hear all of your ideas. I'm sorry for people that I didn't get to talk to. But back to the question that Tom asked, is the Vice Senior Student just a secretary? And I think you have to acknowledge from the offset that there are some distinctive secretarial aspects to this role. I mean, the Vice Senior Student organises the JCR meetings, writes up the minutes, organises these hustings, and sends out countless emails. So there is a lot of background work to this role, and it could be seen as administrative and secretarial. But it is also interesting to know that until 6 or 7 years ago, there actually wasn't a Vice Senior Student role. It was purely just a senior man and a JCR secretary. And this was changed because that it was acknowledged that it wasn't just a secretarial role. There was so much more to this role. And I think that is important to know. On the other side, sorry, I just forgot what I was meant to say. It is actually a lot more than just that. The Vice Senior Student has to hold the rest of the exec accountable for the whole of the JCR. They also have to run the Standing Orders Committee and UCSSFC. And I think that makes it much more than just a secretarial role. I think by calling it a secretary, you're suggesting that the Vice Senior Student is just going to disappear into the background of the JCR. And that is something that I really don't think should happen. It should be a very visible role and someone that is very involved in college. Also, I think something that is often overseen in hustings is the fact that the Vice Senior Student has to listen to the whole of the JCR and the exec and actively listen, not just hear what they're saying, but then act on it. And that requires a very calm temperament and a clarity of judgment that is required to actually see through these changes. And that is something that is very important to the role and goes far above and beyond the role of just a secretary.
It's on. Sorry. Hi everyone, I'm Owen, and I can just echo what Emma said. Thank you very much for everyone to come down. It's great to see so many people here today. And also thank you for everyone at Canvas. Sorry for the afternoon activities I may have interrupted or come around randomly having me knocking on your door, but everyone at Canvas, you were really helpful, and I'm really sorry if I didn't get to canvas you. So the Vice Senior Student role is very multifaceted, and it's a bit more than being a secretary. Now, to me, the secretarial or the communication side of the role is very important and prominent. So that's through getting regular emails, getting newsletters, through platforms such as Facebook, and also through the use of the website, which I hope to redevelop, and I hope I can expand on that point later. And I believe the prominence of the secretarial role is very important, and in this role, I'd like to continue with that secretarial role, and also to, and also to keep up the good work that the past Vice Senior students have done in that role. However, I also want to try and raise the public and raise the sort of public face of the other side of the Vice Senior student role. So there's a lot more to the role than just the secretarial side. One of those is especially important is deputising for the senior student. So whether that's, for example, with the senior student not being able to get to press-com, then the Vice Senior student will have to step into his or her steps to be able to go to press-com. One of the most other important things that I see as part of the Vice Senior student role is the ability to hold the exec to account and also to represent the whole views of the JCR. And on my manifesto I stated that I'd like to hold a forum about exec approachability and accountability. I think that's a very important part of the Vice Senior student role, is being able to represent the whole views of the JCR and also to be able to hold the exec to account, as well as the exec to hold the Vice Senior student to account as well. I also think the Vice Senior student role has a lot of leadership to it as well, being that leading JCR meetings in certain areas, so by setting them up, or by taking a leading role on the Standing Orders Committee and also the UCSSFC Committee as well. So just to summarise, the Vice Senior student does have a very prominent secretarial role, which is very important, but there's also a lot more important parts of the role as well, which involve a lot of leadership and also holding the exec to accountability, as well as representing the views of you guys, the JCR. So thank you.
Right, good evening everybody. I'd just like to add my thanks for you all coming down, because it is fantastic to see so many of you crammed into London. Secondly, yes, thank you very much for everybody who I got round to canvas. It was fantastic speaking to you, and it certainly changed my views actually really well whilst we were going round you all. Very sorry to all of you guys I didn't get to speak to. And sorry to those who I did interrupt doing some stuff. Yeah, so, well, what can I add to these two speeches? My own thoughts on it are that, yes, you've got the secretary role, and you can be very good at the secretary role and not be a good vice senior student. Because really what's going to make you a great vice senior student is all the other stuff. So you've got kind of taskmaster for the exec. So that's keeping people on top of their jobs. So whether that's just kind of going up to them saying, look, how's things going? Have you done this yet for this week? And certainly something which I see part of the role is, if someone comes into their role and says, look, I really want to do this. So if you go and look at some of the manifestos on the board, they do say stuff like, there are quite a few which say, do stuff with the website. Well, as I put in mine, I definitely want to do something with the website, and I would see it as part of my role in helping all the rest of the JCR Exec get the most out of their roles. So that's going to them saying, yes, do you need any help? What can I do? Then you've got very much the voice of the exec to the college. So it's quite often, because you're the main point of contact to the rest of the JCR, that the only way that others will actually hear what the rest of the JCR exec are doing is through you. So you've got to be able to put across those. So when I say I want to put stuff on the website, one of those I would do is putting on the statements of what the JCR execs say they have done. So it's much clearer to be able to see what people are doing. You've got the voice of the JCR to college office. So it's a senior student and the vice senior student who sit in a meeting every week at the college office and discuss how the college is run. So it's very important that you are able to articulate the rest of the JCR's views to college office and facilitate that dialogue. Fine, people wrap it up. Okay. So yeah, you've got to be far more than just a secretary to deal with the role of a vice senior student.
It is now your opportunity on the floor to ask some questions of these candidates. So if you'd like to, anybody like to come out with the first question? Yeah, out the back. Yeah, Will, do you want to shout it out? Okay, so the question is, why do you actually want to be the vice senior student? We'll start with that.
Okay, so this has been a question that a lot of people have asked me during canvassing, and a lot of people ask me why do you want to get a senior student over a vice senior student, and I think I can answer both those questions in one. So for me, if anyone asked me, if someone told me I could do any role in the, you could do any role in the exec, pick one, this would be the one I'd pick straight away. I believe my past experience on the standing orders committee to help me to amend the standing orders, make sure that they are extremely relevant documents to you guys at the JCR. Also my experience during Fresh Week and as a threat during Fresh Week and an open day rep, helping out with the administration of those periods, as well as just being involved in college with on the bar and the boat club, has really helped, has really given me the good experience of this role. And it's something that I can definitely bring to the role and bring the drive of being involved in college to get into this role. I think also what fascinates, what makes me passionate about this role the most is just how involved it is in college. Part of this role is like the pivot point of the JCR. All the communication that passes on to you guys at the JCR passes through the vice senior student. And as part of that, you get to see what every single person in this college does, whether it's music, whether it's sport, whether it's something, music done, for example. You get to see how broad and diverse and amazing this community is. And that's something that really just fascinates about the role, and something that really intrigues me, and something that makes this role really interesting and diverse and really just engaging. I think really that's about it. Yeah, I also, I mean, administration-wise, it's not something that I just, I do, it is something that I find very interesting. And being on the Standing Orders Committee especially has given me an appreciation for the way this place runs. And I really want to bring my new ideas, so bring my ideas of redeveloping the website into a more simpler format to make it easy for you guys to access. And also to hold a forum on the JCR views on exec accountability and approachability and try and implement what you guys at JCR want onto the exec. And I think with that I can bring my new ideas and my drive and my experience to the role. And that's why I like inviting these students.
Why would I want to advise senior students? It's one of those questions where, in some ways it sounds a bit cliche. I fully enjoyed my time in college. And when I fully enjoy something, I get involved with it. So that's why I do so much on the brass band exec. That's why I do stuff on the college hockey. It's why I do Castle Big Band. It's why I'm in the lower library so much, tidying up stuff. Because, yeah, I do kind of live in there as well. But I get involved with stuff I enjoy, and so it's kind of a natural thing to go for the JCR Exec because it's so much new experience here at Durham. And then, why go for VSS in particular? Well, that's kind of what I'm good at. So when I'm doing all my brass band emails, sending them out to people, when I'm doing the paperwork for the Treasury job, when I'm kind of talking to James Waite about who we're going to put on the hockey field the next day, this is kind of what I do. So that's why I think I'd go for that, and I've got the experience of working on loads of execs, and I know how things are run and how to crucially get things done when a decision is made. So that's why I think I want to be with VSS, because I think I can do something in the role and get stuff done. Okay.
So why do I want to be vice senior student? I think I have been very involved in college this year. I've been FREP and I've also been on the welfare team. And doing those things has made me realise what an incredible community this is. We have an incredible college spirit at Castle, and it's something that once you're involved in, you really want to continue being involved in and maintain and cultivate. And that is part of the reason that I want to be on the exec in general. But why I want to be vice senior student in particular, I think it is an incredible role because you are very, very involved in college, but you're involved in the organisational side, and that is something that I'm actually quite good at. I would much prefer to be involved in the organisation than be senior student and actually be the face of the college. I think that I could, I'm quite responsible, and I think I could show that through my role as vice senior student. And that is probably the reason that I would most want to be that role.
Yeah, Elizabeth?
Okay, so an important part of the role of vice senior man is knowing well, the vice senior student is knowing about the standing orders and about how they are used and relevant to college. So, what in your mind is the most important part of the standing orders and why?
Okay, so the question is, what is the most important part of the standing orders and why?
The standing orders are a very interesting document. It's very hard to pin down what they actually are. You've got the what we do, the how we do it, and in some ways, who we are. It's a very kind of organic document. So what's the most important part of the standing orders? Well, depending on what you think they're there for, you can chuck out a variety of answers. Really, I would say the most important part of the standing orders are who we are. So within that organic document of what we do, how we do it, who we are, step into who we are. So, because they basically reference what the JCR is as a body. They're so varied, they kind of get across the variety of college. So the most important part of it, I would say, how they regulate the officers, so who the JCR officers are, and the college servants at the end. Because they give you the character of what college is, and what college is about, and what college was. So that's what I would say is the most important part of the standing orders.
So for those of you who have read the standing orders or had a chance to look at them, they're actually quite a long, potentially a little bit dry and slightly old-fashioned document that I think does need to be reviewed. But I think the most important part of that document is actually what they define the JCR to be. And that is a community that combines spirit and everyone together, and it makes us all come together as a community. And it defines the fact that the JCR, whether you are involved in college or not, whether you're first year, second year or third year, you are part of this college. And I think that is the most important part, because it makes everyone come together and basically be part of this college. And it creates this community that is lacking at other universities and is what is so special about Durham and Castle in particular.
I think everyone here knows we all love the standing orders. They're such a wonderful and interesting document. But sitting on the standing orders committee this year has actually made me realise how much of a relevant and important document they are to college. And I can't necessarily narrow down one specific part of it that I find interesting, but what I find the most exciting and interesting part of it is how easy they are to amend and how fluid the document is. So every single time we sit down in a standing orders committee, we have a long list of what to discuss and what to amend. So for example, whether it's the issue of the vice senior student and senior student titles, or issues of who gets a guaranteed room on the room ballot and how the room ballot proceeds. And what I love about this document is how it's very easy to change. It is always constantly changing to meet the needs of the JCR. Because this body of people, you guys, is such a diverse body of people there, and then your needs are always changing. And the standing orders are constantly regularly updated and amended, always to reflect that. And I think that's the most interesting and amazing part of it.
Callie Foreman.
Why should we vote for you when none of you tried very hard to canvass everyone that lives in Owen, which shows a marked lack of enthusiasm, work ethic and time management skills?
I'd just like to make everyone in the room aware of a point of information from the exec. The porters didn't have spare keys for Owen Gate, and that's why Owen Gate was left. Henry?
Has been strained in many respects. What would you do if you had the role of advising students to improve that relationship, and what elements of that relationship would be your priority?
So the question was, given the strained relationship between the JCR exec and college office, what would you do to improve this relationship, and what would you prioritise in doing so?
I think that everyone knows that there has been a slightly strained relationship recently, and I think part of that is almost a lack of communication. I think if college office are making decisions, unless you are on exec or are involved with another committee, you're actually quite unaware of what's going on, bar an email that is sent out every now and again. And I think that it would be a good idea for there to be more information flowing between the JCR exec and college office. I think that potentially it is arguable that if college office had made us more aware of what was going on with the situation with the vice barter recently, it might not have led to a vote of no confidence so quickly. I mean, that is quite...
Can we have a point of information? Oh no? No? Change the line, sorry.
So I do think that there might need to be more information going on there. And so potentially if there were statements released from college office through the senior man or vice senior student to the rest of the JCR when these events were going on, it might lead to less rumours and gossip being spread around the rest of college. And so I think that could be a point that would improve that. But then also there does need to be improved communication between the exec and the JCR themselves. It's not just an issue with college office. So I do think that if the website was improved and reused to the best of its ability, it could create a more fluid communication between those two. Yeah. Also, I think that would create more communication and make it a much better system, really. But I think the question is mainly about college officers and JCR, so I'll pass on to Aaron.
I can only echo what Emma said. I think that it's very important that we utilise, the Vice Institute utilises and creates new avenues of communication, both from the exec and from college officers as well, so whether that's through redeveloping the website into a more simpler format. But moving on to the question at hand, which is about the relationship between college office, and it has come under a lot of strain recently. The way I believe that the best to handle this is just to go into meetings with college office and which the Vice Institute does a lot, and go into those meetings on an equal basis. So I've said this to a lot of people at canvassing, college office is not above the exec, and the exec is not above college office. To me, it's a relationship of equals, and it's a working relationship. So for me, what I prioritise going into meetings, going into that relationship, is being diplomatic, being able to open to each other's opinions, and building that trust. And when that trust is built, then the Vice Institute and also the senior students to a certain extent have the ability to tell college officers when they think they've got it wrong, or stand up for the rest of the exec within meetings as well. So I believe it's necessary just to be diplomatic and just go into that relationship, treating each other as equals, and that's what I prioritise there.
I'm going to fundamentally disagree with Owen. Because I do not see the relationship between college office and the JCR as equals. I think certainly what's happened with that is clear enough that if the college office decides something, then we are not in the best place to refute it. So, what is the relationship between college office and the JCR Exec? How do you make something better for the JCR? You've got to break down the boundaries between what is college office and the student body of the JCR. So basically, you've got to go in there and make them see you as a person. So something which I would be doing, should I be elected, would be, before the end of term, trying and getting in and having a meeting with as many of the people within college office as possible, so that I can interact with them. I know I can try and get a gauge on how they think and how they want to do things. And once you've got that gauge, once you've got that personal relationship, you're far better placed to those times when you have to stand up and say to them, look, we don't believe this is for the benefit of the JCR, we don't believe it's for the benefit of college. And then you're far better placed to make them see the consequences of what they want to do. And when they see the consequences of what they want to do, that's how you get them to change their decisions. If you just go in there seeing them as a monolith and us as a monolith, and have that kind of combative stance where you think that you're actually equal to them, you're going to get things wrong, and the communication flow is not going to happen in a conducive way. So building those personal relationships early enough so that when things happen which kind of might strain the relationship, you can still get them to see you as a person and not as just one of the students. And you can get them to take you seriously.
Yeah, Tom?
We'll have one on current political affairs. So, what is your favourite Donald Trump policy?
So the question was, what is your favourite Donald Trump policy?
And why, please?
And why?
That's a very hard one to answer because there's so many to choose from. Probably what I'm not going to go for everyone's policy, probably one of his main campaign slogans is "Make America Great Again." And it's been brought to my attention from quite a few of my friends and also I've heard it from quite a few people that I should have run in the campaign "Make Castle Great Again." So I think maybe we could draw inspiration from something from Donald Trump's campaign there as trying to make the community a better place.
Now it's a bit of an old-fashioned policy of his, but I'm just fascinated by his hair, really. So, I know I've got not the most standard hair, but just what he does with it.
Don't really think I'm in a position to comment on many of his policies, to be honest. But I do think that one of the most famous buildings, Trump Towers, we actually do have a building to rival that. So if we just carry on with the castle community spirit, that will keep us in competition with Donald Trump.
Would you rather be on the exec and live in Bailey Court or have the best room in college? Not be on the exec.
Would you rather be on the exec and live in Bailey College, Bailey Court, or have the best room in college?
Well, if you talk to any of my housemates this year, the amount of time I'm actually in the house, let alone in my room, I would probably say take the room in Bailey Court and be on the exec. I'm in below enough anyway, so.
I think saying as I'm sitting here running for exec, it's quite clear that I actually do want to do the position. So I have to admit I would take the Bailey Court room and still be on the exec.
I think I can only echo what says. I'm really passionate about the job. I really do want to do the job, and I would happily take the room in Bailey Court over the room in college and still be on the exec.
I mentioned, well, a lot of people talked about the improving the website. How that's not happened in the last two execs. So how are you guys going to make that do that differently?
Okay, so the question is, how are you going to ensure that improving the website actually happens?
So I actually spoke to Tom Hill about this while I was canvassing, and he said that during his campaign he actually didn't at one point ever say that he wanted to improve the website because it wasn't something that he was interested in. He wanted to use Facebook more than the website. And so I think the fact that it hasn't been used in the past year does reflect that. But there actually hasn't been much effort put into the website in the past 2 years. The last time that it was looked at was when it was first established by Simon Gallo and Ed Gibbs. And I think that a lot of money has been put into it. And so it actually doesn't require that much change. It's that much effort, it just requires change. And so I think if we had a very good computer officer and assistant computer officers, we would be able to develop that without too many issues. And it is something that I know the senior students that are running are also very interested in. So I think that if both people running for the role did want to do it, and the rest of the exec were interested in it as well, which I think they should be, because it is a line of communication that is pretty much redundant. I think that would be a possibility and something that would be quite easy to change.
Just before you answer, there's been a point of information from Kirsten.
Just as a heads up, regarding the website, the reason why it hasn't been done by VSS or any other positions is because I was one of the original computer officers on it, and there has actually been a huge amount done on the JCR website. It's updated. Unfortunately, we weren't given a lot to work with in the first place, but there was a good amount of time in the first term spent on updating everything for this year. So just a heads up.
This is something I've spoken at quite a lot of length during canvassing, and I appreciate what Kirsten said. I think there has been a lot of time spent on the website, and I think we should recognise that, and there's been a lot of money spent on this website. But I really believe that the main problem with the website is its complexity, and there's just too much on there. So what I really want to do is just make the website a lot more simple, just to as a central location where key information and documents can be found. So, for example, on the website that I would like to try redevelop into, I would like to have information about the exec, their contact information for sports and societies officers. I'd also like to have a place where the standing orders can be found, their amendments, SSFC allocations, JCR meeting minutes, just as a central place where anyone in the JCR can access information, and there's a new avenue of communication that's used alongside emails, alongside newsletters, and alongside Facebook to give you guys the opportunity to engage with the JCR. I think the best way to implement this is not just with a vice senior student and certain exec members who are interested just to sit in their rooms and plan it out. I believe it's probably the best way to do this is to get people elected to the IT committee, get a college webmaster elected, get the computer officer on board, and use the resources of everyone who's interested in computers and the computer scientists we have here at Castle to try and make this website the best representation for your guys' views and you for JCR. And then also, once the website is up and running, I would like to get the whole exec trained on how to update it and trained on how to use it to make sure it's not just certain members of the exec updating it. It's an effort from every single member of the exec. So that's how I approach it.
I'm afraid I'm going to fundamentally disagree with Owen again. I don't feel the website needs to be simpler. It's quite clearly laid out. The problem is getting stuff on it. So, as Kirsten says, a lot of stuff behind the scenes kind of been done with it. It's not really visible change, I would say. That's why this keeps on coming up year after year. So when I've been talking to Andrew, who's this year's current computer officer, he was saying the website isn't actually used enough and he's not sent enough stuff to put on the website for it to be worth the time he can invest in doing it. So what I would certainly want to have is have 2 computer officers next year. So one whose sole job is to do the website so that we can actually get stuff on and make it usable again. Make it what it's meant to be, which is that font of information, not just to the JCR but to those outside of the JCR. Now within my manifesto I've kind of limited myself just to mainly getting the JCR documents on there, so that would be stuff like an updated copy of the standing orders, stuff like the Treasury expenses forms, UCSC guidelines, the minutes from meetings, stuff like that. Because once you've got all of those there, it's much easier for people to actually go around and say, well, what is happening with JCR in one respect? Because instead of having to wade through a number of emails of several months maybe to see the minutes from a meeting from last term, you can just go straight to the website, it's there, it's easy. And I would also like for JCR Exec members to be able to put statements up on there. So certainly when I was canvassing, I heard a lot of people saying, well, I just don't know what exec members do. If it's there on the website, people can see it easily. And I feel that by having that sole computer officer who's dedicated to the website, it's an achievable aim. Now, I think to kind of do a whole revamp, like Owen is saying, is possibly just too much for one person to try and do in a year, which is why I want to take this first step towards just doing the public, and I hope for later years, to pick up the baton and carry on to its completion.
Just so you know, we've got about 10 minutes left of this session. John?
So, amongst the roles of vice senior student are communicating with the JCR, deputising to the senior student, and making sure the exec work cohesively. For you, which of these 3 aspects of the role is most important to vice senior student?
So the question is, which is the most important of these 3 aspects of the vice senior student role? Deputising for the senior student, secretary, and communicating.
Secretary and communicating?
No, I'm sorry. Communicating and working with the rest of the exec.
Communicating and working with the rest of the exec. Sorry.
Okay, so just to clarify, deputising for senior students, working with the rest of the exec, and communication. Okay, so I see these as all integral parts of the vice senior student role, and I don't want to place a certain level of importance on one because I see them both, all 3 of them, as extremely important parts of the role and something that you shouldn't prioritise over one or the other. So for me, all 3 of them are important, really. Deputising for the senior student in case the senior student can't attend PresCom, or you need to go see college office in place for the senior students. Communicating to the JCR through all avenues of communications, that's using physical notice boards, emails, newsletters, the website that's been mentioned already, and also, the last one, working with the exec, and working very closely with the exec, and also holding them to account and having the rest of the exec hold you to account as well. All 3 of those are important, and they're very important parts. I think probably the most prominent part of the role is the secretary side of it, and that is the side that you, the JCR, see the most through all these avenues of communication, and through emails, newsletters, and so on. But I don't necessarily think one is more important than the other. To me, all 3 of them are important, and I should place my priority doing all 3 of them.
I would say that of communicating with the JCR is paramount, because you are the source of information to everybody else. Anyone who wants to send out an email, be it about an event, be it about what's happening with the exec, they have to go to you first to get that out. So that's why I would put that as paramount. So deputising for the senior man and working with the rest of the exec. In some ways I kind of see these as two sides of the same coin. If you have a fantastic working relationship with the rest of the exec, you help them get their roles done, you help them get their ambitions for roles done, then you are in fact fulfilling that role of deputising for the senior student. Because the senior student's not having to kind of micromanage things. So, in many ways, that's why I've put working with the rest of the exec second, and then leave deputising to the senior student as last. But as Owen said, they're all really integral to the role. So to neglect any of them is going to be a bit rubbish for them.
I would have to agree very much with Owen on this one, that all of those three aspects are really, really important to the role. Deputising the senior student is very important because you are there to step up in his position if you can't be there for any reason. You also do have to work alongside them in every aspect of the role, so it is important that you are able to do so. But the one I would probably, and then working with the exec has to be very, very important as well, because it's important to have a cohesive team that can represent the rest of the JCR. But I do think that the one that the most importance should be placed on is communication. And I do think that whilst the communication this year has been very good, there could be some more clarity in communication. And one thing that I would look at doing would be to create email addresses from each of the team, each of the members of the exec team, so that it was clearer that it was coming from the vice senior student. I had a fresher when I was canvassing who told me that they didn't actually know who Tom Hill was until the last week. It's a bit interesting. If you did have an email address, it's like interesting. So that would be one line of communication that should be improved. And I would put most importance on that because you are representing the whole of JCR. So it is important to communicate with them and let them know what is going on in college.
And we finished with a fun question. Jane.
Slightly, could you please perform a song which you feel sums up your approach to my senior student role? This can be a cover or an original.
So the question was, please can you perform a song that summarises your approach to the role of vice senior student? And it can be a cover or an original. Whoever would like to start.
Very good question. It's going to be a bit impromptu because I kind of haven't planned this, but if I was, genuinely, if I was to be elected vice senior student, I would dedicate this song to a new senior student. I can't do it. We go together like ram, 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 ding, 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 dong. Forever like she like ding, 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 dong. That's the way it should be.
So as part of this, I was racking my brains earlier trying to think what kind of song both sums up being a vice senior student and my personality. And I think the one that I selected was Hips Don't Lie by JCR. So for me that just sums up how approachable and open and just happy I want to be in this role. Okay, so I won't use the microphone. Oh baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad. To be wise, or keep on being the signs of my body. I want to know my hips don't lie, I'm trying to feel right. The attraction, the tension. Oh baby, can you think this is perfection?
Now, I'm going to apologise first because my singing is atrocious. There's a reason I play the trumpet. Now, mine is also traditionally a duet, so I feel that there would definitely be scope for the senior student to sing with me this. Showers, maybe not too much, but... Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide, baby. You need to call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Just call my name, don't worry, I'll be there in a hurry. 'Cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough.
Well, thank you very much to Emma, Owen and Chris for their rather fantastic talks. The role of welfare officer, if the incumbent Harry could come up and ask his prepared question.
Welfare. Hello, so my question is, how would you ensure confidentiality in the role of welfare officer?
First of all, thank you all for coming here. It's amazing to see so many people. Makes me very nervous. Thank you for everyone who tolerated me during canvassing, and sorry that I didn't make it too. It's quite funny, like whilst I was canvassing someone, they were like, this whole thing sounds like the Hunger Games. I'm sorry, I found that quite exciting. So how would I approach confidentiality with welfare? In my manifesto, I outlined a more confidential service with the welfare system, so I'll go more in depth with it now. So currently we've got daily drop-ins. You probably all know this year they're really popular, especially with the freshers. Everyone loves it, everyone takes breaks from below. They're also really good for getting to know the welfare team. So you might go to a daily drop-in, so you meet like every member of the welfare team, and then you can decide who you might want to approach if you did have a welfare issue. However, you wouldn't really go to one of these daily drop-ins if you had a genuine welfare issue you might want to talk about. There might be up to 20 people in the welfare room. So I'd introduce a system in which once or twice a week there would be someone in the welfare room for 2 hours in the evening. So people could drop down to the welfare room. The door would then close and be a sign on the door saying, please come back later, and this would be one-to-one, or they can come down with a friend. But also hope to set up a Facebook account for Castle Welfare, a bit like Castle Goss, but the complete opposite. So you could be like everyone in the whole college, I just go around friending everyone on the freshers page. And then during those 2 hours, people could message the Castle Welfare account. So it's, if you might have a language barrier, you might feel more comfortable typing it out or just in the comfort of your own room. But also on this Facebook account, there'll be a link to the anonymous posting website that quite a lot of people have trouble finding. Many people don't even know about it because they don't know how to find it, so I'd have a link on the Facebook page so everyone can access it. And finally, people can call the welfare phone or video call on Facebook, so however they feel comfortable accessing it, there's going to be a confidential way they can access welfare outside of the daily drop-ins that everyone's enjoying at the moment. So yeah, and it's important to realise that confidentiality in the welfare team cannot be guaranteed completely. If there is an issue that the welfare team doesn't feel comfortable dealing with, it would be good for their welfare. If it's something very serious, they can't take it all on board themselves. So first of all, they would have to pass it up to the welfare officer. The welfare officer would then decide what to do. They might have to pass up to college office, and then they might have to pass on to the GP. So it would stay confidential within all of these levels. However, it cannot be confidential to only one person all the time.
So we open up to questions from the floor.
Is there any way you would like to change the welfare system next year?
The question was, is there any way you would like to change the welfare system for next year?
So I thought, first of all, genuinely by introducing this more confidential system, like I said, but I would do this by, well, to make this possible, I'd have to increase the size of the welfare team by 1 member. This member I want to be a campaigns assistant. I know campaigns can be very busy time, very stressful at times, so having a campaigns assistant would be very helpful for the campaigns officer. I want to make campaigns bigger and more inclusive for the whole college so everyone can get involved. And I'd want the welfare team to be trained much more thoroughly to make sure they all have nightline active listening training, they all have consent training, they all are regularly updated on student welfare issues every term, or at least once a term, preferably more.
Henry.
As well, also, your main job is to provide a comprehensive welfare support system in the college. Also, your responsibility for the welfare of your team as well. How would you go about balancing those two objectives?
How would you go about balancing the welfare of your team and the welfare of the whole college?
Thank you, Henry. So, first of all, the welfare officers have like 3 main roles. First of all, one-to-one support for the college. Second of all, acting as a liaison between the campaigns officer and yourself, the welfare officer, and then acting as head as the welfare team. So, first of all, I'd ensure they're all comfortable dealing with every student issue, welfare issue that they could be experiencing, trying to outline as many as possible, and then to ensure they're okay when dealing with these issues if I know anything's happening at the moment. So, by doing a way of doing this, I would make a weekly kind of welfare coffee just for the welfare team. So it's like a drop-in, but only for the welfare team. And it would be like a cafe in Durham, so outside of college. It would be like 2 hours. Me or the campaigns officer would be in the cafe. So if they wanted welfare themselves, they could drop down to a cafe and chat.
Yeah, Tom?
How do you respond to the fact that you're running on a pace?
How do you... Actually, I'm afraid you can't ask that question because all questions have to be available to be asked by Ron as well as candidate. Guy in the blue jumper? Sorry, I don't know your name.
Really positive talk at the start of the year where welfare and trade will be towards society. There being so much kind of social stigma, especially kind of playing in sports and social good. There's more room for kind of welfare involvement in those sports societies throughout the year.
Do you think there's a role for welfare within sports and societies during the year?
Yeah, absolutely I do. Thank you, Jack, for flagging that up. I'd love to continue Harry's work with like giving welfare training to every captain and social sec in sports and societies, making sure every sports societies come and to the training. So I'd want Maitland to come and give active listening support. I'd want maybe a homophobia in sport workshop. I gave one this year, as well as other welfare issues that could be flagged up that people might want to approach them about. So I'd continue that. I just make sure everyone gets involved. So because sometimes there's only going to be, if I were to be elected, I'd want 8 members of the welfare team, excluding campaigns and welfare. So that's only 10 people in the whole of the college. So you might not want to approach any of them. So they could approach someone that they are closer with, which is more likely to be someone in their sports or society. So yeah, it's really important.
So obviously welfare is a massive part of your role, but so is being on the exec. And as recent trends will suggest, the exec are often scrutinised by the JCR. How would you ensure the welfare of the exec that you're working and living with?
So
the welfare of the exec. Yeah, quite right. The exec are all members of college, just like everyone else. So they all need welfare, and you can't exclude them in any way. So maybe at exec meetings, I would want to just kind of flag up if there's like pressing issues in the exec, as recently. I would maybe touch on them, like maybe say how are you coping with these things? How's it going? Regular checkups on them just to make sure they're handling it fine and making sure they've got someone to talk to. It might not be me if they don't want to talk to me, but like make sure if they did want to talk to someone, they would have someone to talk to. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on year-round tea and toast?
What are your thoughts on year-round tea and toast?
So during Freshers Week, and for those of you that don't know, the welfare team put on tea and toast twice, from like 12 till 2, and the freshers absolutely loved it. So they come back from 2 and have tea and toast. I think it's really, really good fun. Obviously it can't be put on too often as the welfare team. If there's only going to be 10 people, they need their sleep. They can't stay up till 2 just looking after people feeding them toast. So yeah, I would like to see it more often, maybe once a week. But again, you can't do it like twice a week, every week when there's 10 people that has to do others. But yeah, it's a lot of fun for the welfare team. I loved it. So yeah, I'd look into it.
Yeah, go on, Dom.
I think a strong moral compass is integral for the welfare officer, and I want you to answer this honestly, the whole crowd. If your student loan could be wiped off tomorrow, that's about 40 grand, and nobody found out, would you kill Blackjack?
So, would you kill Blackjack to wipe your student loan off tomorrow?
Okay, would I kill Blackjack? Honestly, I would not kill Blackjack. I mean, I'm from Scotland, so I abandoned free education anyway, so I'm only going to do that.
So obviously a lot of progress has been made through campaigns, etc. But a big major contemporary issue for the university as a whole is responsible drinking. How would you improve the college's attitude to responsibility when drinking?
How would you improve the college attitude towards responsible drinking?
So obviously with this issue of drinking, I'd have to act in the role of like liaising with the campaigns officer. I'd want to, well, first of all, during Freshers Week there's free soft drinks, and there's obviously the campaign week of Think Before You. I don't want that to be a one-time thing. I'd want that to maybe be once a term, maybe not a week every term, but like so you'd have that 1 week, but then you'd have regular updates, maybe even just short talks or like leaflets during dinner, just to make sure people are aware of how much drinking can affect you. I'm sure you've all seen these new cups in the Andy that tell you how much calories go into the every alcoholic drink. So I want to make sure these regular things are happening to make people aware of actually what it does to you and what drinking like is. I know like drinking culture in uni and maybe in this college. There's a few problems with it. So just making people more aware. So with the campaigns would be a way of doing with like raising awareness of this.
Would anybody like to move on to a slightly more fun question? Elizabeth?
If we could have any welfare animal, regardless of safety concerns, that wasn't a dog, what would you like to see?
And would you kill?
What welfare animal could you have given no health and safety requirements?
So during the kind of Stress Less campaign last year, we had this petting zoo come into uni, come into Castle, and they had this, like they had 2 chinchillas, and I didn't even know what a chinchilla was, but they have like the softest fur, and like they're honestly the softest thing you'll ever touch, and they're just amazing to the whole. They'll be great for having welfare, so I go for chinchilla.
And for a final question, anywhere in the house? Go on.
What's your favourite scene from the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Was that can you act it out?
No, that's it.
Can you act out your favourite scene of the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Yeah.
I have no idea this would come up again.
What about Star Wars?
Go for Star Wars?
Yeah.
Okay,
Act it out.
have to be, so relating this to welfare, it would be the identity crisis that Luke Skywalker has when he finds out that Darth Vader is in fact his father. So here we go. This is me acting it out. I don't have Darth Vader. Can you?
She doesn't like.
I am your father. So, thank you very much for watching.
I didn't have it ready. How would you balance the aspects of development officer, and what would you develop?
Hi guys, I just wanted to say I really enjoyed canvassing, and I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to have a chat with me and for coming down here tonight. It's great to see quite so many of you here. I think first of all it's important to define what development officer actually is, because that's something that came up in canvassing. So in the standing orders, development officer has 4 main responsibilities. That's overseeing the Open Days and Freshers Week, chairing the sponsorship committee and ensuring the college get sponsorship, liaising with the alumni officer, who's currently David Holiday, to maintain alumni relations, and also to promote careers, events and information. In order to kind of balance those aspects, the development officer works on almost like a calendar basis. So first of all, you've got the open days. They come up really soon. You've got those on the 21st of March. So that would be my initial focus should I be elected. Then straight after that, I want to start thinking about June Ball 2017 because most companies work on 3 types of calendar basis. So they can work on a tax basis starting in April. They can work in a Gregorian calendar basis, January to December, and they can also work on an academic basis. So it's important to start thinking about that to ensure that we're never restricted about when we apply for sponsorship again. Straight after that, I want us to go straight into Freshers Week. I think Harriet did an excellent job this year, and I want to ensure that it runs as smoothly as well. The minute that's over, I want to start thinking about starting applications for the sponsorship committee. I want to get as many people involved as possible, local sponsorship deals, sponsor formals, obviously continuing the work for June Ball. I then think it's an important time for careers, that kind of October to December period. So that would be another big focus, promoting deadlines, promoting events, skills workshops, networking, and all of that jazz. Then lastly, I want to start thinking towards the end of the term about supporting the next June Ball sponsorship director and their efforts of bringing them up to speed on the sponsorship committee. In order to build on, which is a funny word because it also means develop, so hey, I would like to build on the success of Freshers Week. I would like to investigate expanding the FREP team, also introduce more daytime activities such as something like yoga or meditation in fellows. I'd also like to build on Harriet's sponsorship success and take it further in the local sponsorship deals. And I'd also like to build on our current careers focus in introducing a careers page in which it can be like a one-stop shop for all that careers information, such as the workshops, careers events, and all the stuff that the uni, societies, and the college put on in general. Thank you.
Questions? Yeah, Henry?
People often have discussed in the past the necessity of the role of development officer on the exec. What element of the role do you think is irreplaceable for the exec?
What element of the role of development officer do you think is irreplaceable?
I think that is a very interesting question. That's definitely something that I've heard mentioned in the past. To pick out a specific aspect of the role is difficult. I think open days are essential because they ensure the best and the brightest students like yourselves, no factory intended, will choose college. No worries. buy me a drink later. Anyway, back to the question. Freshers Week, again, is really important because it's the integration of the freshers with the college, the university, and themselves. I would then also think that sponsorship has the ability to directly benefit all members of the JCR, and so in that respect, that's what gives sponsorship officer its importance and its ability to directly benefit all members of the JCR, which I think is essential in any exec role. Thank you.
Yeah, Maddie.
Having been a frat 2 years ago and annoyingly hanging around this Freshers Week this year, one of the biggest problems I think we had that the frat team and the person running it didn't really know how to deal with was a lot of the MCR freshers don't have a clear idea of what's happening and wound up in JCR events and had no idea what they were doing. Do you have a clear plan on working with the MCR freshers rep so that you have 2 timetables and they can actually get to their own events and make friends?
Point of information from Harry.
Hello. The MCR does have a Freshers Week timetable. It's just that the freshers from the MCR get confused and just wander into the JCR events. But then as soon as you point them as to where the MCR room is, then they're fine.
Let's just rephrase the question slightly to how are you going to work with your counterparts in the MCR?
I think that's a really interesting question. When I was a frat, I definitely saw some of the MCR drifting around and looking a bit confused. So obviously I'd like to work very closely with them. I think that they also have good ideas, and I'd maybe like to steal some of their good ideas to improve our Freshers Week. I'd also obviously inform them of what was going on, so then we kind of had cohesion within the 2 timetables to ensure there wasn't kind of them interrupting our events and us interrupting their events. And I think that we can also support each other in these roles to ensure that Freshers Week really is the best that it can be. Thank you.
Yeah, Summer?
So after working with Harriet this year, it seems that a real struggle of the job is that you deal with a lot of rejection. And how would you keep your team motivated when most of the time they're getting rejected for companies?
How would you keep your team motivated through rejection?
Well, I'd like to thank Summer for that question, because I think that is a really good question. Something that I've learned from being Jupil Sponsorship Director this year is we've contacted something like 4-fold the amount of companies that we contacted last year, and thus we've increased our rejection rates. But I think that also has the potential to increase our success. I think also that by contacting more companies, those companies are going to remember you, and that in future years they may look back at that and they may reconsider your options, and I think that's something to be reminding the team. I also think that it only takes one company to sponsor us to really transform an event, June Ball, a formal, anything. So it really is keep trying, basically, and you will succeed eventually.
Yeah, go on.
Ben, I think ethics is really important. I want you to answer this straight. The start of Freshers Week, you've got 2 options. No one would know. But if you slept with one of the freshers, you've gone to be in love with them for the rest of your life. And die at 85, shocking red into the lake. The person of your dreams is there in Freshers Week, and if you slept with them in Freshers Week, you'd be with them forever. Would you do it or not?
Would you sleep with the love of your life during Freshers Week?
Obviously the integrity of the role is very important, and I would strongly discourage anyone from sleeping with a fresher during Freshers Week. I've actually already found the love of my life, that is Claire Sportsberg. And therefore, I would not be sleeping with any pressure, as I would not want to break poor Claire's heart.
While the original Star Wars trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy are both very well known, a slightly less well known but still equally valuable trilogy is the Back to the Future trilogy. Could you please act out your favourite scene from the Back to the Future trilogy?
Please, can you act out your favourite scene from the Back to the Future trilogy?
I have to confess, I've never seen any of the Back to the Future movies, and therefore I think it involves a car, so I'm going to pretend to drive. I also can't drive.
And anybody like to have the final question? Oh, yeah.
I think the development officer has to be really enthusiastic during Freshers Week. You know, they're the one who's going to get all the freshers pumped up the night ahead. So as a consequence, we'd really like you to do an interpretive dance of how you feel Freshers Week should go.
Please, could you do an interpretive dance to illustrate how you think Freshers Week should go?
That's not a question I was expecting. An interpretive dance to show how I want Freshers Week to go smoothly. So this is me going smoothly. This is the smooth going for Freshers Week. So, there we go. I can't dance.
So thank you all very much for coming along this evening to listen to the hustings for the 3 roles of Vice Senior Student, Welfare and Development. The votes will be going live later this evening. Watch out for an email from Tom. He's the Vice Senior Student in case you didn't know. And I'm sure they'll be all over Facebook. So let's get a huge vote and turnout and let's pick the candidates you really want to represent next year.